Howdy everybody, and welcome to Saturday, the 9th of October, 2021. We're still working today on doing a little winterization project. Normally I hate to waste that much water, but as you can see, the pond is absolutely chock full. There's some carp out there. There might be a salamander or two. I don't know what all's in there, but every once in a while the fish will jump out of there. At least I think it's a fish. I really hate to waste that irrigation water, but like I said in a previous video, they're going to shut off our irrigation water on the 15th of this month. And we've already got snow up on the peak of the mountain right above the farm here. So yeah, it's time to be really winterizing things. So I've shut off the sprinklers. We're going to pull those. We're going to take down all the hoses and everything. And today, first up, we're going to start winterizing the pump in the little pump shed. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a nice little surprise right in the top of the controller box for us. Yeah, wasp nest being built up in there. Well, that'll be something we'll have to take care of, but only after it's a lot colder. One of the first things we're going to do is open that valve right there and let that filter assembly drain. My son talked me into putting on this filter assembly for keeping the water clean going to our sprinklers. Well, that thing is far from clean, but we're going to let it drain. And yeah, he'll have to rinse it out manually by hand, I guess. Anyway, we're going to crack everything apart here and start draining stuff. The next thing we're going to drain is the pump itself by opening up that little ball valve right there. If I can get it to do it. I'm working at this on the wrong side. You can hear a ticking noise. That's air getting sucked into that. So, yeah, that's open. We should start seeing water coming out of that before too long. I removed the garden hose from that hydrant, or that valve right there, and opened up the valves. And around on the inside, that's draining all of this pipe right here, at least back into the irrigation pump. Because now we have water running out of that little valve. So, yeah, we're draining everything down. Like I said a minute ago, I know we're on the back side of everything because of the wind, but I'm going to open up these valves and let them drain as well by getting air into them. So this is the high spot of the system. So all three of those valves are now open, including that one up here that goes to the water well, or the waterfall, I should say. Now I'll try to unscrew this thing to get the filter assembly out of here and to help let it drain. Yeah, that's pretty well, that filter, that's pretty well full of mud. Had a lot of silt in the water this year, unfortunately. Oh, even the inside of that filter housing, let me get it around here, that's all sediment and mud and stuff settled on there. Yeah, it's wonder if that would get water through it at all. I'll have to get a bigger pipe wrench out here to undo that union on the intake pipe for the pump. We'll get that taken apart and get that pipe up out of the water, and hopefully that'll help drain it as well. I will be calling my pump blowout specialist again this year to have him come along and pressurize the system with air and get all the water out of it. Part of the issue I'm having with running the garden hoses out of the pump house is right here on the back side of the duck pond, between the pond and that split rail cedar fence. I have a heck of a time getting in here with the lawnmower to mow this, to keep the weeds down and whatnot, and keep the grass going good. So hopefully next spring, my son and I can get the poly pipe put in that'll run over to the garage there for lawn sprinklers, and we'll get that little issue here taken care of. And one other little project we got to do so we don't forget is unscrew the garden hoses off of these hydrants. Now these yard hydrants like that have a valve way down underground, and when you shut them off, it drains this vertical tube down below. This particular hydrant happens to drain down in the well pit, and that's where we're going next, is down in there to shut the water off to that hydrant, and last but not least, this hydrant, which are both out in the show area. This one's here by the driveway where it runs out into the field, and the other one way down there in the fence line. One other thing I will do here, that will open up all those little ball valves to let the water out of the ball that's in the valve. So that ball has a little hollow chamber in the middle of it for the water to flow through, and if it freezes with that on there, those will swell up and bust this brass housing. And we can't forget to do this little hydrant valve over here next to the irrigation riser for the field, because that little valve right there in the garden hose that I'm unscrewing runs out to the failed garden attempt. Yes, folks, I hate to say it, but that is my sweet corn. Maybe 3-4 foot high, some of it, most of it's about 3 foot. Got too hot too quick and not enough water, and that's the stunted growth I ended up with. Say, did you know there's no such thing as a grumpy old person? No, just when we get old, we stop being polite and politically correct and start being very honest. Yeah. Normally I don't respond on air to questions and comments and that sort of thing, but today Harley put a question to me, and stay tuned. You're going to get to meet Mr. Stanley. Yeah. Now, since I don't know what kind of condition, if there's even any antifreeze in this tractor, we're going to have to check that out. That's next. Offhand, I would say that radiator is bone dry in this tractor. But there's one place we need to check and make sure that there isn't any coolant in a John Deere Model B tractor. The one place John Deere tractors have an issue of breaking is right here in their cylinder heads when they have water in them and they freeze. So we're going to undo this nut here, or this plug. For some reason it's already loose. Let's see what we got. Oh, yeah, we got some water or something in there. Yeah, let me get a sniff of that. You know, it don't smell like antifreeze, it smells like water. So, yeah, we'll get oh, no, it's turning green. So we'll get a bucket, put a bucket in it, and catch all that antifreeze. I already know the filler hole, or neck, on the radiator is full of holes. And the radiator cap that was on it was really actually fairly shot. So, we have a new cap for that. Now that I've checked out the cylinder head and the drain on this tractor, I'll throw a cap on here right quick. Nice brand new shiny one. Fits perfect on there. That one already has a radiator cap on it, but we're going to check out its radiator fluid or lack thereof in its cylinder head down underneath, just like we did this one. That new radiator cap on there will help keep foreign particles out of that radiator. I know there's already some in there, but that'll help it from getting any worse. Did I ever mention that I hate gophers? We had a bunch of gopher holes. There's another one there. And that poor little apple tree, yes, it is leaning that way. We're gonna have to put a stake out here or two out here somewhere on this side and tie it up and see if we can't get it to grow straight. The wind is making it lean. Now, one of the other things I've got to do today is pick these Red Delicious apples. They have a haze on them from the weather and whatnot. But yeah, they're nice, juicy, and they're still very firm. They're a little dark because they've been on the tree a little bit long. But yeah, 100% edible. I'm going to put them in a plastic bag for now just to get them up to the house. One problem I've had with my apples this year is the birds have pecked at it. Then those wasps get in there and start eating it. That's their last little bit of nutrition for the fall season and winter. Yes, wasps can be very beneficial by eating insects that are harmful at the farm, but they're also doing that to my apples, so we're going to have to do something about that in the preceding years. I don't mind telling you, last night kind of had the stuffing scared out of me. I was sitting at my desk editing yet another video when I saw a flash. And I mean, it was super bright, super intense, just unreal, bright whitish blue colored flash. Well, instantly I knew it was a lightning strike. And at the same instant as the flash, the house seemed to lift up in the air, and then there was the boom. And I mean, it was all super extremely fast. As fast as the flash of lightning occurred, you normally see. But there was enough time that I could see the flash, feel the house raise up, and the boom. All in that order. I could definitely tell there was an order to it. So, never did see where it hit. I've looked at the trees. But I don't mind telling you, that scared me a little bit. Well, here I am with my third very full bag of apples. These are all off of the Fuji apple tree. The other two were off of the Red Delicious trees. So, yeah, I'll show you what we're going to do with these here in a second. Now, here at Nelson Creek Farm, we have two types of apples that we grow. We have the standard Red Delicious apple, which this one is. It's got a nice dark red color to it, and fairly decent sized apple. And we also grow a Fuji apple, which is just a little lighter color, has some yellows, and every once in a while it might look kind of green in the colors. But that's the two type of apples that we grow here at the farm. The reason why these two is because they need to cross-pollinate between each other, or at least these need the Fujis for the Red Delicious to propagate properly. Not too sure what's going on with the Fujis. We're lucky to have maybe a dozen or so apples off of the Fuji trees. We have a pair of Fuji trees, but we usually get 3-4 dozen off of our little apple trees for the Red Delicious. Now, the best way to store an apple is to not let them touch each other. So what I'm going to do is I have this paper towel. It's funky little half sheets or whatever you want to call it. We'll do a couple of them here. Anyway, what I do to preserve or keep my apples for a while, they only last me a couple of months just off the trees I got, or maybe if that, if I eat a bunch of them. Anyway, you take an apple and you put it in the paper towel like so, and then you set it in a box with another one. And you keep them from touching by wrapping them in the paper towel. So you got this one and this one, and then go in the box side by side this way. As long as they don't touch, they won't have issues and get fungus or whatever and go soft and mushy. But you do need to keep them in a cool, dry place. I put them in a cardboard box wrapped up like this so that they don't touch. I alternate which way the seam is. This one's going this way and this one's this way. That way that if they come apart, they don't touch. Anyway, the old timers used to use tissue paper. I just use paper towel. Works the same. And then I can always do something else with the paper towel. Yeah, or whatever, yeah. As those trees grow and mature more, we do expect to have more yield off of those trees. Because right now they're 8 foot high at most. Anyway, that's it on the apple trees. We're going to probably plant some more next spring. So we'll have a little bit of an orchard going on out here. Plus, we're going to plant a few other varieties, probably a peach and maybe some plum. We'll see. Now, before I go and forget, I promised a certain young lady by the name of Harley a quick peek at Mr. Stanley. Well, here is Joe Cool Stanley right there. Yes, there he is, Mr. Stanley in person. Take off your shades here, bud, and say hi to everybody. There you go. Hey. Okay, Harley, there's Mr. Stanley. I have to be careful showing things like Mr. Stanley. Dolls and that sort of thing are generally considered to be a kid's item on YouTube, and these videos are not made for kids. If I were making them for kids, I'd have to fill out a bunch of forms and whatever, and unfortunately, I occasionally let a foul word slip and whatnot, and being a farm as such, there are animals breeding and that sort of thing that you probably don't want kids to see, little kids especially, so unless they grew up on a farm. So, yeah, we won't show those kind of things very often, but I did get a question, and there's your answer, Harley. I hope you all enjoyed this little bit of a tour around the farm of what do we got to do to winterize it. Still a few more projects yet to do here and there. So I know I said something about getting to the pellet stove in the next video, which would be this one. Well, as it turns out, I had to order all of the chimney piping for that thing. So I'll tell you all about that in the next video. In the meantime, give us thumbs up, thumbs down, and right down over there, yeah, right down there, is a little red button that says subscribe on it. If you would, please. It means a lot to me and the algorithms for YouTube. And as always, y'all be careful out there and be safe. I'm Farmer Dave. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye now.